We know that being sedentary or having a desk-based job can lead to muscle weakness, which in turn can lead to other health conditions we don't really want. So in today's video, I'm going to go through a few brilliant strengthening exercises that you can do sat at your desk. And make sure you stay tuned until the end, where I'll go through how many of each exercise you should be trying to achieve, and we'll also discuss a few strategies to make things easier and more practical to do for you. Hey there, it's Luke from Genuine Physio, where we bring you honest, evidence-based information and education to get you guys back on the road to recovery. If you're new to the channel, then subscribe down here so you don't miss any more of our content. And if you like what you see, then a thumbs up is always appreciated. We'd love to be interactive with you, so come and find us on all of the main social media platforms. And with all that out of the way, let's get going. So what we're going to do, guys, is we're going to start at the top and work our way down. So at the beginning of the video, we'll work on some of the major muscle groups in our upper body and our arms. And then towards the end of the video, we'll focus more on our lower body and our legs. Throughout the video, I'll be giving you some technical pointers on how to complete each exercise, telling you what muscle groups we're targeting, and also trying to give you a little bit of extra information about how strength training works and some of the principles surrounding it. So this is a shoulder press, and the main muscle groups you're working here are your trapezius, your deltoid, your lats, your pecs, a little bit of triceps and biceps, and also your rotator cuff. So a good exercise for anybody who has some rotator cuff related pain. Shoulder flexion is mainly going to work on your big chest muscles, a little bit of your biceps, and mainly your anterior deltoid. That's the muscle right at the front of the shoulder. You don't have to own weights to carry out these exercises. Depending on your current level of function, you might be able to get away with a couple of bricks, bags of rice, a couple of cans of food. What I would say is if you do want to progress things over the coming weeks and months, it might be beneficial to invest in some weights if you don't have some already. Tips for this exercise would be to try and make sure you keep your elbows straight when you're lifting the weight up in front of you. The other thing that you might want to do is just try and squeeze in your tummy muscles so that when you lift your arms up, you're not tempted to lean back through your trunk and compensate through your back. You want all of the movement to come from your shoulders. So shoulder abduction is mainly going to use your deltoid and one muscle in your rotator cuff called your supraspinatus. So it's another good exercise for anybody that has rotator cuff related pain. Now, a technical tip for this exercise would be similar to the flexion. Make sure you keep your elbows straight. As you get fatigued, you'll be tempted to bend your elbows to make the exercise easier. If this is the case, it's much better to reduce the weight that you're lifting and complete the exercise properly than lifting a weight that's too heavy and then compensating and completing it incorrectly. Towards the end of this exercise, you should really feel like the muscles around the top of the shoulder are really getting achy and fatigued. Now, shoulder shrugs are going to get your levator scapulae and your upper trapezius stronger. It's important to note that muscles vary in size significantly, and because of that, you need to change the amount of weight you're lifting accordingly. For example, with the last exercise we just did, the shoulder abduction, you're lifting a load far away from the body with a long lever, whereas with the shoulder shrug, you're keeping the load very close to your body and doing a smaller movement. Therefore, you need a heavier weight for the shoulder shrug and a lighter weight for the shoulder abduction. What could be a nice idea is maybe investing in some adjustable weights like these, so you can add weight on and take weight off depending on the difficulty of the exercise and the muscle groups that you're working on. Now, I probably don't need to tell you which muscle group that we're using with this exercise, but you're going to start off with your elbow straight, then you're going to slowly bring the dumbbell up to your shoulder and then slowly bring it down. If you wanted to save time, you could move forwards in a chair and do them both together. Now, going back to what we were talking about earlier quickly in terms of different size weight for different size muscles, the reason this is so important is because if you want to see change and you want to improve, every exercise that you do to strengthen your muscles should challenge your muscles. Strength training works by stressing muscle tissue. What happens is you cause tiny breakdowns in the muscle fiber, and the achiness or the soreness that you get in that muscle over the next day or following days is the muscle repairing itself. Essentially, muscles don't really like being put under stress, so when they are, they adapt and change so that if they have to undergo the same load again, they can cope with it a lot better. And that's why you need to gradually increase and progress the amount of weight that you're lifting over a period of time, because the muscles will get used to what you were lifting initially. And this principle of strength and conditioning is called progressive overload. Back to the exercises, tricep dips obviously work your triceps, but they do also work your lats, your deltoids, your traps, some muscles in your chest and your muscles in your forearms as well. I'd recommend trying option 1 first, and if you do find that too easy by the end of the repetitions, then feel free to give option 2 a go. Moving on to some lower body exercises, we're going to start with squats, which work on your quads, hamstrings, glutes, core and calves. Now, a lot is made with squats and foot position. Ultimately, you just need to be comfortable. They need to be about hip width apart. It doesn't really matter if your toes are facing directly forwards or slightly out to the side. Just do whatever feels comfortable for you. What I'm showing you here is a common mistake that a lot of people make when they do a squat. They bring their knees over their toes, which makes you lean forwards. Now, as soon as you add any weight, it's going to feel fairly uncomfortable fairly quickly. You want to keep your knees behind your toes and drive your hips backwards. Having a chair behind you to start with is a really nice cue, because you want your bottom to touch the chair every time you go back. If that's too easy, you can make the exercise harder by removing the chair and working through more range of movement. You could also try and complete the exercise slower. Alternatively, you could always add some extra weight. I'm obviously using a dumbbell here, but you could use a rucksack with some heavy books or anything that you can find in the house that will give you some additional load. Again, if you're loading yourself enough, by the end of the exercises, your legs and your bum in particular should be aching. Deadlifts work on your quads, your hamstrings, your glutes and the muscles in your lower back. The first thing I tried to do here was get myself into an anterior pelvic tilt. So tilting my pelvis forward slightly and causing a slight arch in the lower back. This can be a tricky technique to master, so it's definitely worth trying it a few times without any weight at all. You may even want to try it in front of a mirror. When you start adding some load, when you come upwards, you should feel the muscles in the back of your legs, so your hamstrings and your glutes working really hard. Now, quick disclaimer, I've got very tight hamstrings, so I have to bend my knees quite a lot to get down to the floor. If you're quite flexible in your hamstrings, you might even be able to complete this exercise with a straight knee. Deadlifts tend to be an exercise that people with back pain try to avoid because they're fearful or worried about bending or lifting. If this is the case and you do have back pain, I would strongly advise you to give it a try. Like I said, you might want to try with no weight initially. You might even want no weight and just try 50% of the movement. If you are worried about bending or lifting, I have done a video on fear avoidance and how that can slow down your recovery, and you can find that in the description below. Bulgarian split squats work mainly on your quadriceps, but they do also work on your glutes and your calf. I would recommend trying the movement first with some support, so either the back of a chair like I have here or your desk or table. If it's too easy, then feel free to take the support away, and if that's still too easy, you can add some additional load, so maybe a dumbbell close to your chest, or you could use 2 smaller dumbbells either side of your knee, or grab your rucksack again and pop it on your back. It is a difficult exercise, and if it is too difficult, then you can try some seated knee extension, which will target your quadriceps in isolation. Now, I told you at the beginning of the video, if you stay tuned until the end, we'd have a discussion about how many of these exercises you're trying to do and try and give you a few easy tips and strategies to make them more practical to do during the day. So, in terms of how many of these exercises you're trying to achieve, if we're working on strength, we're really aiming for about 12 repetitions, more or less, 3 sets. So that means the same exercise 12 times without stopping, and then after those 12 you might have a 30-second or 1-minute rest, and then you do them again 12 times. Then you have another 30-second or 1-minute rest, and then you'll do them again 12 times, and then you're done. That might seem quite a lot initially, and that's absolutely fine. Find out what works for you. At the beginning you might want to do 8 repetitions 2 times, or 5 repetitions 3 times, and then you can gradually build up from there. Now, we've done quite a few exercises today, and if you have time to do them all in one go, then that is amazing. However, if you would like a few suggestions on how to make things slightly more practical and time efficient, then I have a few suggestions for you. Suggestion 1, we have completed both upper body and lower body strengthening exercises today. So what you could do is separate them and then do them on alternate days. So you might do your lower body on Monday, Wednesday and Friday, and you might do your upper body on Tuesday and Thursday. And that way you'll save some time and give your muscles time to recover. Suggestion 2 is you could pick your favorite 2 or 3 upper body and 2 or 3 lower body exercises and then do them alternately on the same day but with no rest, if that makes sense. So you do 12 repetitions of one upper body exercise straight into 12 repetitions of your lower body exercise, and you'll do that 3 times. Now you won't need rest because when you're doing your upper body exercise, your legs will be resting and vice versa. Therefore, very time efficient. My last suggestion is, if you want to be really time efficient, is you could do 2 exercises at the same time. So, for example, you might choose your squat and shoulder press, and as you come up from your squat, you'll do your shoulder press, and as your arms come back down, you go back down into your squat. Or you could do a lunge and shoulder abduction. So as you come up from your lunge, your arms will abduct, and as they come back down, you go back down into your lunge. Therefore, 2 for 1 and very time efficient. If you guys have any tips or advice on how to make these exercises more practical, then drop a comment below. As always, thank you very much for watching, guys. I hope you found the exercises and the advice useful. If you have, then a thumbs up really is appreciated. And if you haven't seen any of our videos before, then subscribe down here so you don't miss any more of our content. There'll be some useful links in the description below the video, and come and say hi on all of the main social media platforms. But just before you go, I'd love to hear from you, so drop a comment and let me know which exercises you found most useful from today's video. And until next time, I'll see you again very soon.